Okay, we're live. Welcome everybody to the Fly the W studio. It's Chris Strub here on Wednesday nights. Here in the Fly the W studio in Greenville, South Carolina. It's April Fool's Day, April 1st, Wednesday night, just after 8 p.m. here in the East. Some crazy times out there. We're in day who knows what of quarantine, social distancing, everything's closed. Hopefully you're staying home as well, just like I am. Hopefully you're staying safe. I can tell you that this coronavirus does not mess around. It does not mess around. Tonight what we're going to do is something a little bit different, something that you haven't seen on my Facebook page because I haven't done it before. We're actually going to we're going to play a game called the Political Machine 2020. Actually, I'm going to play. You're going to have a chance to watch. I have done this 3 times, twice on YouTube and once on Twitch. Now, I don't have any followers on Twitch. I got one. Nate followed me on Twitch. So I got 1 Twitch follower. You can follow me on Twitch at Chris Strub. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Strub. I can put those up here real quick. Twitter, Instagram. But you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel, which I forgot to make the graphic for. Probably should have had a little bit more forethought. And I'm doing this almost every day because it is really easy to kind of set up. You know that I've been doing, the other 2 things that I'm really doing live streams on these days are going to be lockdown trivia, which I think I'm going to do another episode of that tomorrow night, so Thursday night, April 2nd. And takeout time. We could put up the little squares here. Lockdown trivia will be tomorrow, I think. Pretty sure. And then takeout time with the blue motif there. That one's a little bit trickier because I have to go get takeout. So it's kind of expensive. There's obviously trying to figure out where to go. I just did all my meal prep for the week. So the thing with the Political Machine is it's definitely a lot easier for me in the setup to be able to do this with you guys. And hello, Christy Gillentine. Good to see you. So the fun thing about doing these streams on Facebook is that I can actually acknowledge your comments, whereas on YouTube or Twitch, you can't really do that same level of acknowledgement on the stream itself, using Switcher Studio at least. So if you're not familiar with the Political Machine, you're about to be. This is a computer game that came out in 2004. It is a political, really a presidential simulation game where you get to choose a candidate. You can choose from any one of, I think there's about 10 candidates on the Democratic side. There's about 8 or 9 on the Republican side. We'll take a look at that. They each have their own set of attributes. You can pick a different length of a campaign. We're going to roll with the normal style, which is a 21-week campaign. You'll see exactly what I mean by that here in a minute. And there's a whole lot of different choices that you're making along the way to try and defeat your opponent. As you saw in our intro screen, I'm going to be playing tonight as Bernie Sanders, and we're going to play against the incumbent Donald Trump, who is not easy to beat. So far in my live streams, I am 1 and 2 on the normal difficulty. If you're running out of stuff to watch on Netflix or on YouTube and you want to check out the games that I played before, you can, again, go to my YouTube channel at Chris Strub. Can I actually add that in here? Can I do that? Logo? No, we're not going to worry about doing that now. Text and graphics, social overlays. Yeah, I can do that. Like I said, you can follow me, I'm sorry, let's get the terminology right here. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is at Chris Strub. I've got a few hundred subscribers there. It's not great for being on there for like 12 years, but it's a fun little place. And while you're on my YouTube channel, you can certainly dive in. You can check out all the past videos that I've done from 50 States, 100 Days. I did a series called Road Trip Recall, where I I told a lot of stories about the road trips and stuff that I've been on, not just 50 states, not just the 2014 Team Strub tour, but also, again, the Salvation Army tour. There's video blogs from all 25 stops of the Salvation Army tour from Houston to Manhattan. So there's all sorts of fun stuff that you can check out on my YouTube channel. A lot of that stuff does also live on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Team Strub. So you can do that. And here's what we're going to do. So I'm actually going to be able to show you my computer screen. So we're going to do this. And I'm able to put myself here in the inset. And we're going to play the political machine. Hopefully the sound continues to hold up okay the way it did the other day when I did this on YouTube. And if you guys are watching live and commenting along, I'm going to actually change the multi-view here to this so that I can bring up your comments like that. But I think it will be a little bit easier for you guys to watch. So if there is nobody commenting along with me, then I'm going to keep the multi-view like this, where you're going to be able to see more of the screen in a cleaner fashion. So I will kind of take my time a little bit here explaining to you kind of how the gameplay works. If you check out my YouTube streams, I do move a little bit more quickly. I assume that you have some familiarity with the game, and then you can just go in and watch over and over and over again is kind of the idea. Like I said, this is kind of fun for me. This is a game that I downloaded to kind of help ease the stress a little bit of self-quarantining, and I shouldn't use the phrase quarantining and social distancing interchangeably. I am not quarantining. I haven't seen anybody in the public in over 2 weeks anyway, but I haven't shown a single symptom. I feel just fine. So I'm not quarantining. There's not really very strict mandates here in South Carolina, so I'm just kind of being socially responsible and hanging out here in the Fly the W studio. We do have a little bit of bourbon going on here tonight, a little Woodford. Whew! That was the first sip of the night. So Christy says she played this ages ago. See what I'm saying about how that comment is going to take up a big portion of the screen? I'm here, I'm live streaming this to acknowledge the comments. But I also don't know if it will really be better if I change the look to this. Can you still see the bottom of the screen? Let's roll with the traditional look here for a little bit. And go ahead and play. Now there is a bit of a delay here in the comments. So if I'm going to be asking you guys for input as you're watching live, I'm probably just going to go ahead and play because there is like a 30 to 40 second delay, which would make this maddening to try and play interactively, especially if there's not a bunch of people watching. So again, you can choose your party, Democrat or Republican. I'm going to choose to play as the Democratic Party tonight. I'm going to keep the difficulty on normal, but you can go anywhere from super easy to impossible. These are the advanced options that you can toggle. Again, you can extend the length of the gameplay out to crazy, which I think is like 52 weeks. Starting funds, I always just leave everything standard, and then the random events, you'll see what they mean by that. I'm going to leave that as normal as well. Clink indeed. As I said here, and let me turn my camera off here for a second. There you can see the whole list of candidates. Amy Klobuchar, Andrew Yang, we got Bernie, who I'm going to play as, Catherine Cortez, who I believe is a senator from New Mexico. And each one of these folks has a fun little avatar here. I'm sorry, Nevada. Elizabeth Warren. Of course, there's Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, the presumptive real-life candidate, Kamala Harris, Michael Bloomberg, Pete Buttigieg, Tulsi Gabbard, and, of course, the fictional massive comet. And you'll see, once I go with Bernie here, you can see on the right side of the screen the candidate's attributes: stamina, charisma, starting money, so on and so forth. I have not yet played this game as Bernie Sanders. I played as Amy Klobuchar, I played as Pete Buttigieg, and I played as Elizabeth Warren. And the only one that I've won so far was with Pete Buttigieg. And all the games have been very close. So this is bound to be very close. You can see here the Republican candidates. There's Dan Crenshaw. He always pops up first because it's all in alphabetical order. But you can see here, there's George W. Bush. So you got his brother Jeb, you got Mike Pence, you got Mitt Romney, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, you got the fictional Valentino Rudabach. The giant meteor knows no bounds. The giant meteor could play as either party. But like I said, we're going to play as the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump. Journey begins for Sanders and Trump. You'll see we'll get a number of these pop-up messages throughout the game. And here's how it works. You got your map of the 50 states. Bernie, of course, is starting up there in Vermont, which is pretty much a given blue state, so we probably won't actually spend any time in Vermont. We're going to be able to fly from state to state over the course of 21 weeks. If you see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, there's a little bit of these red lightning bolt things. Those are the stamina points. Those are what you're going to spend to travel from place to place and to invest in these buttons in the bottom of the screen. So you've got the... You can build a campaign headquarters in each state. You can give a speech in each state. This is where you're going to build your ideology points. We'll talk more about that. You can do fundraising in each state. Obviously, there's a big difference depending on where you're fundraising. You can run an ad in a state, which also has impacts on the surrounding states. And then the 6th button over here is where you can hire political operatives. We're not at that point yet either. There's a million different ways that you can play this game. Throughout, you'll want to keep an eye on the polls. You can see right now, I do have a lead before we even get started, 280 to 258, which is a little surprising. You can see that the top issues there, number 1 is stopping the coronavirus. And you can see that the president and I are split 50-50 in how voters see our ability to do that. All these other issues, you'll see how they each come into play as we go along. Now, like I said, there's no one correct way to play this game. Obviously, you see there's 1,000 different variables, but you'll quickly see what my strategies are as we go along. So as you can see, I, in week 1, traveled from Vermont to Florida to Texas to California. I built and then upgraded my Florida headquarters, knowing that Florida, of course, is going to be an important state as we go. Now you see here in the middle of the screen, there's a question mark floating over Oklahoma. That is one of those random instances. So if I do travel to Oklahoma this week, which I plan to, I'll have a chance to scoop up that question mark. It could be something good, it could be something not so good. And you'll see throughout the game how those play out. You'll also notice that President Trump also has the opportunity to scoop up those question marks as well. Throughout this game, you will see that I will miss out on some question marks because he'll get there first. It's just kind of the way the game works. So you saw that town hall icon up near Salt Lake City. I was able to go to Utah and pick up that ideology point. Here's how that works. As you collect those ideology points, and the only way to do it is to go to those town halls, wherever they might be. And I've seen them in Alaska. I've seen them in Maine. They could be literally anywhere. But you'll gain ideology points as you choose to go to them. Then you're able to build out your basically your platform by spending those ideology points. And you can see that from a democratic socialist perspective, this is kind of the basic tenets of democratic socialism. Now, if you picked a different candidate, your honeycomb here would look different because you'd have different attributes that you could invest in. I do not have enough ideology points yet. You see, I have 1, and I need 3 to invest in any of these 3 planks of the platform. Now, if your opponent starts building their ideology first, then your cost of building these planks will go up. So if he spends his ideology points first, then these numbers that say 3 will go up to 4. And you'll see these numbers climb throughout the game to 5, 6, 7, 8, probably up to 9, 10, or even 11, depending on how many town halls pop up during the game. I'm also going to go to Oklahoma here with my last stamina point. So you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, I've got 1 stamina point remaining. It is 1 stamina point to go from any state in the union to another, even if you're going from Miami to Alaska, which I had to do in a game the other day. So there's no additional points to going a further distance. So traveling from one state to another is 1 stamina point. And you can see here, this was a good random thing that I actually just picked up $500,000. Which is going to make a big difference, and you'll see why as we continue to play here. Bernie's got a pretty good fundraising ability here. If you look there at the small number on the screen, his fundraising ability is 7. So he's generally able to raise some pretty good money, even from a red state like Texas, just because of the population that's there. You'll see as we go along my strategy, which is to gather as much money as you can early on, even as Bernie Sanders, and then to really invest that money heavily once the game progresses. See, another town hall has appeared. And there you go. This is one of the most important things in the game. That Trump has purchased his first ideology, which is protecting our borders. Not surprising. That means that the cost of those ideologies that I showed you before has increased to 4. And so I'm obviously going to want to stop in Kansas, grab those ideology points, and then really you want to try and spend them as quickly as you can. Almost made a big rookie mistake of not picking up that point there. And you can see we're up to week 6. I am falling behind according to the early polls, but that's okay. You'll see that that's not the end of the world. You can see as you do more and more fundraisers, obviously your ROI in a given state is going to go down. And that's what you just saw there in Texas. Every time you do a fundraiser in a state, that number is going to go down. So you see I've done a bunch of fundraisers already in Texas. But we've got a good amount of money. And you see now he just purchased another ideology, which is not good for me. And you just purchased another ideology. Okay, so when you click this button here, the Operatives button, these are expensive operatives right now, so we're going to pass on that. But you can hire any one of these 5 operatives that have an individual impact on the game. I'm not going to do that yet. That was unlucky. So throughout the game, you get these invitations to appear on talk shows. I'm actually just going to skip it for now. It's just kind of they're probably effective, but it doesn't feel like the most effective use of my time. And you see I was able to pick up one of the surprise question marks here, pick up $500,000. If you're watching this replay, you live in the Midwest, you're probably like, dude, you haven't even gone to the Midwest yet. Don't worry, we out here. We still got time. But we do have a pretty significant amount of ground to cover here. We're down by 10 points after we started out with a lead. Not really where we want to be. But you'll start to see the strategy here in a minute. All right, here we go. After 11 weeks, you pick your running mate. Again, you can pick from any one of these, the remaining 12 Democrats. I'm going to go with a female, as I suspect Bernie Sanders would. And I'm going to go with Kamala. Kamala is actually one of the stronger candidates in the game based on her just attributes. Now, I will tell you, I don't think it really matters as much as it probably should who your running mate is. It doesn't seem to have all that much of an impact on the game. You're certainly not guaranteed to win the state that they're coming from. You see, California is currently red. Now that'll change. But you can see I'm getting smoked in the ideologies here. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to buy one now. Jesus. Okay, so you see I'm down 12 points now, 51 to 39, but I've got a whole lot of things on my side here. First big thing that I have on my side is the ability to finally purchase an ideology. What's up, Matt? Virtual 50 states in 50 minutes. That's about where we're going to end up, yeah. It is riveting. So you can see now I can pick from one of these ideologies. We got diversity, social justice, or protecting the environment. I'm going to stick with we'll go with protecting the environment. And right there you can see the price of the other primary planks have gone up to 9 ideology points, which again, the only way you can collect them is going to those town halls. So we're going to have to see, it's almost luck of the draw to see how many of those we're going to be able to collect. You can see, however, that shifted the national race. Now it's just a 9-point lead. I say just, but that's still a huge lead in this game, 50 to 41. Take a look at the polls here in week 12. I am losing 388 to 150 in the electoral vote department. But See now, this is where the money starts to make a big difference. We're also going to start giving speeches. I do support stopping the coronavirus. You can see out there in Vermont, for some reason, Rand Paul. If there's one thing I will guarantee you in this game, it's that Bernie Sanders wins Vermont. So Rand Paul can go up there and give as many speeches as he wants. It's useless. That's basically all the vice presidential candidates do in this game, is they will travel independently. It doesn't cost you stamina points. You can't really move them around. They just kind of go do their own thing on their own. So you don't really control them. And when you buy ads, it also has a big impact in the neighboring states. Whereas when you give a speech, it gives you a bigger bump in that particular state. And I am going to do I'll do the Tucker Carlson show. Just so you can kind of see what it looks like here. There are a lot of liberals out there who see these tragedies, these shootings where some sicko has gone crazy and shot a bunch of people. These liberals are trying to use these tragedies to push their own agenda, gun control. They want to tear up the Second Amendment. How do you respond to these pinheads? It's an interesting question for Bernie Sanders. I don't think Bernie Sanders would answer with, I think we should shoot all them liberals. And you can see, you get your variety of responses. See the town hall there in Mississippi? I can pick up some more ideology points, but like I said, I can't spend them until I gather some more. And those ideology points are going to have a huge impact on how this game turns out. You can see now that we're going to end up spending a whole lot of money here in the next 7 weeks. Finishing with money doesn't do you anything. Doesn't do you any good at all. One of the most effective ways to spend money is to hire operatives. This is not going very well for me. Yeah, we'll give the Social Security speech here. You see that made a big difference there in Florida. I actually now have the lead in Florida. Now, if we start losing all these Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, big problem. So we're going to make sure we keep on focusing up here. When you create an ad, you can either say that you support, you oppose, or that your opponent supports or your opponent opposes. You can see sometimes that sucks. Those ideologies make a huge difference. You see, I'm going to have to go back down to Louisiana to pick up those ideology points here. Then we'll run an ad saying Donald Trump opposes stopping the coronavirus. Got just a couple weeks left here. We definitely don't want to lose California. If you lose California, it's all over. I mean, and I've got Kamala Harris as my running mate. Nice visit to the Upper Peninsula there in Michigan, for all our Michigan fans there. A lot of purple on the map, but you see that this is not looking good. Now there's an excellent chance I could win the popular vote and lose the Electoral College. Let's take a look at the polls here and see how we're doing. Yeah, you can see right now I'm getting smoked. We're going hard here in Ohio. See, I've cut the margin a little bit. Oh, I've cut the margin a lot, actually. See if that makes a difference here in Florida in the last week. All right, I've got 6 stamina points left. Just try and take a look at any of these states where one last visit could make a big difference here. I'm losing South Carolina 64-28. Take a look at the, again, you can look individually at each state here. And this is why I'm losing Pennsylvania right now, is that the biggest issue in Pennsylvania is blue-collar jobs, and I'm getting pulverized in blue-collar jobs. So let's spend the last of our stamina here. Giving a speech about blue-collar jobs. Okay, here we go. This is where the rubber hits the road. You can see that in the overall polling, I'm losing 49-44, but we've got 7% undecided. You can see both Donald Trump and Rand Paul are finishing they're spending election night in Vermont, running again, in New Hampshire, I'm sorry, running against Bernie Sanders. See that I confused Vermont and New Hampshire tonight. Rand Paul has been up there in New Hampshire with their 4 electoral votes, which shows that this might be a pretty close race. You see a lot of the western half of the U.S. looks like it's pretty locked up, pretty red. But as we all know, of course, a lot of the electoral votes in the U.S. are going to be locked up in that Midwestern region. So we'll see how all these purple states play out. You saw I made a big play for Florida at the end. I have a lead going into election night in Florida. I think we're going to know pretty early on if my efforts there in Pennsylvania, that speech I gave basically on election night, will turn the tide and turn Pennsylvania, which may actually turn the whole race, because there's not much hope out west for me. You'll see that the game will go from east to west as we go. And so I will probably know once we get to about Illinois, maybe even sooner than that, whether or not I've lost. Now the last thing that I can do here is move some of the operatives around. You see, we're doing okay in Florida. Where are my operatives? So this won't show, oh yeah, it will show me where they are. And you see Virginia is tied right now, 46 to 46. You see I've got a good lead in Kentucky, so what I'm going to want to do is move my operatives out of the states where I'm solid blue and move them to the states where the race may be up in the air. You see again, Virginia being tied there. I'm basically going to have to punt Ohio. I'm not going to win Ohio, so I'm going to move my operative to Pennsylvania. Looks like I've got Michigan locked up. And so I have another operative there who I can move that operative out to Pennsylvania as well. This might be kind of hard to see. Well, we'll see if I just lost Michigan because I moved that guy. Alrighty. And then from the ideology points, yeah, I can't purchase anything else. Here we go. Bernie Sanders would be the oldest president in the history of the U.S., or Donald Trump will continue to be the oldest president in the history of the U.S. 3, 2, 1, here we go. And you see Massachusetts goes red, as does Connecticut and New Jersey. Pennsylvania blue, though, that's a good sign. And Virginia goes blue. We held on to Florida and won Kentucky. Michigan's a big one. Stayed blue. This is going to be very, very close. Very good sign that Wisconsin went blue. But you see now, this is where Trump's going to really start to rack up points there, including Minnesota. That's not good. How do you lose Minnesota? I think he's got me. I think he's got me. Yep. Boy, I lost Washington State. This was not a good showing for me here. Losing big time. The Sanders-Harris ticket just got pulverized. We'll take a look at the exit polls and see where we got smoked. 295 to 243. Not really a great showing there. Really, border protection and building the wall were really where I got hammered. And then America First, Trump won that on that issue as well. This was actually the worst showing that I've had. It's kind of hard to steer this map to show you kind of what happened here, but we can take a look at some of these swing states Obviously, Minnesota hurt, and I didn't even come close. Lost Minnesota 58-41. Washington State, I lost 54-45. Colorado 53-46. My strategy of spending a lot of time in Texas early on obviously did nothing, losing 65-34. North Carolina, was that close? Nope. Indiana, that one hurts too, 56-43. And then you see, losing these northeastern states is just an embarrassment there. Clearly a terrible strategy on my part. Losing Massachusetts as Bernie Sanders. Losing New Hampshire as Bernie Sanders. Connecticut, I also lost by a point. I did hold on to New York, but you can see 4 votes there, 11, that's 15. Connecticut, that makes 18, and then New Jersey is another 14, that's 32. Clearly, I should have spent some more time in New Jersey there. Yeah, that's the answer. If I had not taken for granted the Northeast, if you had those 32 electoral votes in, even if I had lost New Hampshire, if I had won Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Jersey, that would have given me an extra 28 electoral votes, and I would have won 271 to 268. So, terrible. Really poor showing here by me tonight here, but thank you guys for watching. Again, if you want to see more of this sort of content, you can check out my YouTube channel. It's at Chris Strub on YouTube. You can subscribe over there. You can also find me on Twitter at Chris Strub. You can find me on Instagram at Chris Strub. And thanks for watching. Political Machine 2020. I do this almost every day, usually over on my YouTube channel, so if you subscribe and you want to check it out, hopefully I'll get a little better at this game, because that was a pathetic showing on my part there. So we'll do better next time, and hopefully this isn't reflective of what we're going to see this November.